They all seem to work. And what I'd like to point out something really, it's really important for people to understand this from the beginning. Cancer is not a thing. It's a process, and it's a homeostatic adaptive process that cells go through when something happens to them. When they lose the ability to use oxygen, they ferment. They have to. That's the only other way they die. So they start fermenting. And now that they're fermenting, it's a very inefficient way. They only get 2 energy molecules for every glucose because they don't have oxygen. So they have to adapt. So they turn this gene on, they turn this one down. They make all of these what they call epigenetic changes. It's like changing operating systems. It's going from Mac to Windows. And so they change operating systems. And now that it has a new epigenetic profile, it can successfully do it. So I call them chronically fermenting cells. I don't call them cancer, because cancer is for people that are born between June 21st and July 20th. That's what cancer is. If you look it up, there is no other meaning. It doesn't convey information like chair conveys information, table conveys information. Cancer conveys only one thing, and that's fear. And that fear is a frontal lobotomy. You no longer can make rational decisions. It's called the standard of scare. They call it the standard of care. I call it the standard of scare. They scare you to death, and then you agree to having this cut off, that cut off, this burned, that burned, and all that. Standard of scare. And that's how they work. But, so cancer is not a thing, and that's very important. These are chronically fermenting cells that are doing what they're doing in order to survive, because that's what biology does: regenerate, rejuvenate, and procreate. Okay, so now, it turns out that way back, if we go way back to the 1890s, and we look at when they were looking at, remember around 1850 or 40, around then is when they started using microscopes. And there was a guy named Rudolf Virchow who became the father of pathology. He's the one that defined how to do autopsies. He developed the field of pathology, and he wrote the book. He's called the father of pathology. By the way, he said later on, if I had my life to live over again, I would devote it to proving that those microorganisms are there to clean up the mess. They didn't make it. Much like the flies didn't make the feces. They're there to clean it up. So anyway, that's another whole story. But in any case, around 1890, there was these German scientists who kept finding these small oval bodies inside of cancer cells, of CFC, of chronically fermenting tumors. But they weren't finding them in other cells. And so they published on that. And then there was another guy, a well-known guy, who also published in that in the same year, 1890, saying, and what did he call it? The parasitic nature of cancer.
What if I told you that cancer, acne rosacea, multiple sclerosis, and rheumatoid arthritis, 4 different diseases in 4 different areas of medicine, what if they can all be treated with parasite medication? We have a book called the ICD-10, which shows that we have 70,000 disease diagnoses you can come up with and codify for Medicare and Medicaid and all these different government agencies. Are there really 70,000 diseases? Or are there 70,000 presentations of a few root causes?
These things take over your body. And they will defecate inside of you, they vomit inside of you, they eat all of the things that are good for you, and then they leave behind all of the poisons and toxins that are bad for you. It's basically an alien invasion of your body. Is that right? And that would explain why our treatments are so totally ineffective. No matter how profitable they are for big pharma, they don't cure cancer. As a matter of fact, we have a formula to fight parasites. Go to spnstore.com. It's time to purge the invaders. It's you or them.
So they were already calling it that. Now, and then there was a guy in Germany, in Munich, Metchnikoff, and he said it's a protozoa. So pretty much the Europeans, the Germans, and the French were already realizing that there's these microorganisms, and they're very, very small. Now, the only way this Brenner could see it was because he developed a stain called a Fuchsian stain, which allowed him to see it. And so now he could see that because they didn't have great microscopes in those days. But he could see that, and he found them only in cancerous tissues. Now, what they did, then there was a guy named Roos, he came along, and he kind of legitimized it. He's called the Roos sarcoma virus. Because remember, a parasite our relationship with microorganisms can be what they call mutualism, where they're benefiting and we're benefiting. That's our gut microbiome. You know, we need each other. Then there's commensalism, where they're benefiting by being in us, but they don't harm us. And then there's parasitism, where they're benefiting and we're being harmed. So that's the fundamental definition of those things. Okay, so these parasites, he was able to find them. Now, by the way, if anyone's looked into this subject at all, they'll remember with Louis Pasteur and Beauchamp. Louis Pasteur said there's a germ, and Beauchamp said no, it's the environment. This guy named Robert Koch came along, Koch, and he said, yeah, you got to meet these postulates. You got to be able to take the stuff out of someone, put it in a dish, grow out an organism, give it to another person who's healthy. They get sick. You take out their secretions, you put them in, and you can grow out the same organism. Then you could say, yes, this is the infectious agent. That's called Koch's postulates. They've never been met for viruses, for bacteria, but they have for parasites. And so what happened was, by the time we got Roos, and then there was one other guy in Germany, and they were able to actually take these organisms and produce cancer in other cells, in other tissues, and other animals. So they actually met Koch's postulates way back then, 1890s, 1900. 1911 was the Roos sarcoma virus. 1910, you might all remember, a fellow that worked for John D. Rockefeller by the name of Simon had a brother named Abraham, and they put out the Abraham Flexner Report, which changed medical education forever. We got public health, and here we are today. Public health is taking over. It usurps everything. Okay, they knew what they were doing way back then. So anyway, so we kind of knew that. And by the way, if you look up the data, in 1910, in America, 0.07% of people died from cancer. Well, they didn't have good ways of diagnosing in those days. Oh, but they did. In those days, you didn't need permission to do an autopsy. You could do an autopsy on anybody who died. So they had all these autopsies. They had definite causes of death, 0.07%. But that's when they started the American Cancer Society. I mean, the precursors. Now, how did they know that by today, 1 out of 2 men and 1 out of 3 women would get it, when in those days it was 0.07%? I don't know. They must have had a crystal ball there. So, in any case, we've kind of known that it's been controversial. It's never been settled whether or not there are parasites involved. And so, finally, in the what was his name? Dr. Schilling. He was in Berlin in 1930s, and he found out that there is this organism in the blood, and he even gave it a name. They called it Siphonospora polymorpha. And he was again able to take this thing that he found in the blood and give it to someone who didn't have it, and they would get cancer. And it was published in 1934 in a German medical journal that I can't pronounce, right? And then I think what really brought it to light was in the 1970s at the Max von Pettenkofer Institute. There was a Dr. Winter and a Dr. Schur, and they came out with a study that they published, and a lot of studies, and they called it the unusual corpuscular elements in blood. Now they actually, and I mean, if this was a different show and I would share the screen with you and show you that he actually filmed these little living organisms that go into a red blood cell and they eat the hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the protein that holds the iron that holds our oxygen. That's how we carry oxygen in our blood. So they would eat that, and they would develop, and they would grow, and sometimes they would burst and come out, and then they can't live outside of a cell. They must live in a cell, so they quickly go into another cell. Well, the white blood cell that eliminates them are called macrophages. They would come along and grab them. Then they take them over to a lymph node. Now, sometimes those macrophages actually got filled with them, and they would burst, and it would spread more, and that's how it started to happen. It's on film. It's on film. 1970s, Munich, Germany, the Max von Pettenkofer Institute, well respected, like the Pasteur Institute. These are not just little guys in laboratories. This is universities, medical universities, oncology universities. So I don't know why this we don't. I didn't learn it in medical school. Anyway, so they Weber did all that work, and he actually said, well, look, these guys are pretty much, they have the same thing. They behave like a parasite. They have the same survival mechanisms. They produce the same metabolites. They reprogram the immune system the same way, and they're killed by the same drugs. So what are we talking about here?
Is the Joe Tippins is the Joe Tippins protocol still publicly available for people?
Yes. Yeah.
And is this something that you tell people? I mean, this is the obvious recipe for success if you're dealing with, a diagnosis of cancer, whatever that is?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's fundamental to what I do. So, but it's not just that, because here's the problem with these parasites. So there's two kinds. There's the parasites that can cause cells to become tumors. We know that. There's certain ones that cause bladder cancer. And remember, a parasite can be a virus, a rickettsia. It can be anything that gets in you and is taking advantage of you and you're being harmed. That's considered a parasite. So there are all kinds of forms. They can be protozoa, which is a single-celled organism. Blah 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 blah. So anyway, these little worms that get on us, they can lay up to. They don't stay in your colon. You're not going to find worms. They go into the wall and they hide there, and they can lay up to 20,000 eggs a day, and each egg can become 20,000 worms. So you can't just take this stuff for a few days, which is what they claim. You've got to take it for. What I do is I put people on it for 3 weeks on, 1 week off. 3 weeks on, you have to cycle it, because these eggs are going to hatch.
And what kind of success have you achieved, Dr. Lodi, with this protocol?
Okay, let me give you just one example. Tremendous. I'll give you one example. I had a woman come into me just 2 years ago in Arizona at our center, and she had a big tumor in her lung. And there's a thing called a PET scan, and a PET scan is they give you radioactive glucose, and then they take a scan of it. And if it's above a certain number, SUV, then for sure it's cancer. If it's below that, it could be inflammation. Okay, so if it's above 7, then it's cancer. Well, hers was 28 or 26, so no doubt. So we didn't even have to do a biopsy. I don't do biopsies anyway. So, you wouldn't have to do a biopsy. 27. So she said, I came to you, Dr. Lodi, because I know I don't have to do a biopsy. So you know what we did? We took care of her teeth, because that's a big one. You have to take care of it. The hidden infections. By the way, everyone's got entamoeba, all kinds of protozoals in their jaws if they've had an extracted tooth. If you've had an extracted tooth by a regular dentist, they didn't take out the periodontal ligament, you've got tumor, you've got these protozoa in your jaw. I had it, and I haven't found anybody, when they take them out, send them for DNA analysis, who hasn't had it. Anyway, so this woman comes in with a big tumor, and we treated her. It took about 1.5 years with the protocol I told you, but I used 4 different anti-helminthics, ivermectin, fenbendazole, niclosamide, and praziquantel. I know those 4. And then I used nitazoxanide, which is an anti-protozoal, and an antifungal. 3 weeks on, 1 week off. 3 weeks on, 1 week off. Guess what happened? She went back for a PET scan 1.5 years later, and the radiologist said, I guess we were mistaken. It's gone. That's only one. Now, I also have a guy who is a surgical oncologist himself, a retired one, surgical oncologist. He sent me a letter, and he said, look, I've had 2 rounds of radiation, I've had chemo, I've had surgery, and it's growing back. And I know my prognosis. Because glioblastomas, they're like 100% fatal. He came to us. We did all of our stuff with him. It's been about 2 years, and his wife, who's also a surgical oncologist, sent me a thing, and she goes, I was in tears. She goes, this is what we've been waiting for. It was gone. It was like almost gone. It started to come back. About 1 year later, it started to come back. She said, what am I going to do? I said, then we're missing something. It's still in there. So I sent her to a special dentist. We found out she had some infection. They're saying, it's gone away again. And we used anti-parasitics, and we also took care of the parasites in his jaws. So yes, this stuff does work, and I have to use it. Remember, what we need to do with cancer is we've got to get rid of any potential toxic exposure that's causing it, number one. And number two, we've got to wake up the immune system, because the parasites and the cancer cells learn how to reprogram the immune system.
Couple things here real quick, because I got to get going here. I had to blow through. No, it's fine. I had to blow through a break already, but this is very important stuff. Where can people find you, your protocol, information more about this type of treatment? Because there are millions of people out here with these cancer diagnoses that obviously are scared shitless.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm in Arizona at it's called An Oasis of Healing, and just anoasisofhealing.com. That's easy to find. And then I'm also in Asia. I'm here at Oasis Healing Asia. We have a center here in Thailand, and we've got a center in America, and we're doing that. And we work with people who've just been diagnosed, who listen. I have people with worms coming out of their noses, mouths, vaginas, ears. As soon as I started talking about this, I've got a webinar, if anyone's interested, at drlodi.com. You can go on and look at a webinar where I go through all of this about parasites. Once I put that out, I've got letters from all over the world. And if I just had 10 people, 100 people doing it, I think they're a little bit off. But thousands of people are telling me about these weird things in their bodies crawling underneath. And it's just crazy. So,
and a lot of them have these parasites and they don't even know it. And if you have like inflammation, if you're not feeling well, I mean, if you this long COVID stuff that they're talking about, brain fog, all of these things, do you recommend that people are on a non-prescription anti-parasitic as well?
Yes. We have to use prescription antiparasitics, because we're not the same person we were in 1900. Our immune systems are weaker. We can no longer just use herbs. We live in an environment that's attacking our immune system. We no longer have the immunity. So what was a commensal organism is probably now a parasitic organism, because we're no longer able to fight it off. So we have to use drugs. And I hate to use drugs. But I do. I'm an MD. I'm a medical doctor. I was trained at all the best places, so I know that stuff. But I use drugs when I need to for a certain period of time, and then I don't. Yeah. But anyway, everyone needs it. We all have it. If you don't know you have it, that's just because you don't know it. But you do have it. They live in the lining of your lungs, your liver, your ovaries, your bladder, your brain, your lungs. They live there. And if someday we can do a whole thing on this. But
yeah, we need to, absolutely, because I mean, this platform is about saving lives, and the information that you brought here, I was not expecting you to bring. And so I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to another more extended conversation. Dr. Lodi, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
This is completely unacceptable. These record-setting high inflation rates are actually preventing people from retiring, simply because they just don't know what their money will be worth in the coming months and years. And this is exactly why thousands are heeding my advice and turning to Goldco, the top-rated gold company, to diversify their savings with time-tested safe haven assets, physical gold and silver. Goldco doesn't want your hard-earned money to go down the government's drain. Neither do we. This is so important that right now, not only is Goldco offering a free gold and silver kit, but on qualified purchases, they'll give you up to a 10% instant match in bonus silver. Go to StuLikesGold.com to learn more. Again, StuLikesGold.com, or just call them 855-706-GOLD. Again, 855-706-GOLD. Diversify and protect your savings from an inept government with physical gold and silver, and get an instant return on your money. This offer will only last until all of the bonus silver is gone, so act right now. Again, StuLikesGold.com, or just call them 855-706-GOLD. Again, 855-706-GOLD.
What if I told you there was a hostile alien species that controls your appetite, sleep, and focus? Invaders that urinate and defecate throughout your body whenever they are hungry. We call them parasites, and they are the root cause of many health issues that result in pain, suffering, and death. The Purge is our solution. Purge Suddenly offers a unique blend of 17 detoxifying ingredients, including black walnut hull and wormwood, scientifically proven to not only kill parasites, but to destroy and flush them out. If you've never gone through a parasite cleanse or didn't do it the right way, our proven formula prepares you for a complete and total victory. Increased alertness, weight loss, and clear skin are just a few of the potential benefits customers have reported back. Kill the parasites. Destroy their eggs and build a big, beautiful wall inside your body to keep them out. It is time to purge suddenly. It's you or them. Make your move now.
If there is one mineral that you should be worried about not getting enough of, it's magnesium. Magnesium is the body's master mineral. 600 critical reactions, hormone balance, stress management, sleep quality, even digestion is influenced by the presence of magnesium. Well, there's two big problems with what I just said. Number one, magnesium has been largely missing from U.S. soil since the 1950s. I wonder if that's intentional. It certainly does explain why up to 75% of the population may be deficient in magnesium. Number two, most supplements contain only 1 or 2 forms of magnesium, when in reality your body needs 7. The only full spectrum magnesium supplement, the only magnesium supplement on the market that has all 7 critical forms is called Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers. And that's why I'm so excited to tell you that I was able to arrange a killer deal for you. You won't find this deal on Amazon. You won't find this deal on the company's own website. This deal is exclusively for you, my audience, and it's for a limited time while supplies last. So right now, you can get a bottle of Magnesium Breakthrough for free. Just go to magbreakthrough.com/stewfree. Again, that's magbreakthrough.com/stewfree and get your bottle of Magnesium Breakthrough for free right now, today. Again, that's magbreakthrough.com/stewfree.
What are you doing today to refocus, realign your investments so that it matches your ethics, your American Christian-based value views? At Cortez Wealth Management, we want to create a solution that we can avoid the CBDC, can help you with your retirement, get you a reasonable rate of return, not fund China or any other communistic countries, and number 5, work with a God-fearing fiduciary that has your best interest and that we can honor God, country, and family.